Hello, Covenant Warriors. I wanted to share with you guys something that the Lord had ministered to my heart from 1 Samuel 25. There's actually two things that God had revealed to me in reading this passage. So I'll probably do two parts. But the first part is all about vindication. And so if you don't know the story well, in 1 Samuel 25, this is where David meets Abigail. And before that, David has just been on a running spree trying to get away from Saul, and then finally has an encounter with Saul, and the Lord's like, nope, don't kill him, let him go. And so he does this, and shortly after that, Samuel passes away, and then David goes into the land of Maon, and he meets a man named Nabal, or he doesn't meet him, but he goes and provides services for him during the sheep harvesting season, and protects, the flock, the people. Nothing gets stolen from them. And so at the time of harvest, David sends his men to go collect basically payment for the services rendered. And what ends up happening is Nabal ends up sending his messengers back with a pretty rude message, to be quite honest, really attacking David's identity. He says to David that who is this David man? And David was well known in the area, right? And so he's just like questioning who he is. He calls him a runaway servant, and essentially saying like he's betraying his master. And so it's really attacking David, his character, who he is, and so forth. And so out of anger, David begins to come up with a plan essentially to take him out. Like he's planning on going down there with like 400 of his men and, taking him out. And so in comes Abigail. Nabal's servants hear of what's going on, tell Abigail, and then Abigail responds. And I think what the Lord wanted me to share with you guys and what he had revealed to me was just the wisdom of Abigail. So she's described as this beautiful and smart woman who's married to a fool. But anyways, so as we go down Samuel 25, Abigail acted quickly. That was the first thing. And how she approaches David is number one, with respect. She bows down to him and she says to him, pardon, servant, my lord, let me speak to you. Hear what your servant has to say. Please pay no attention to my lord, to that wicked man Nabal. He is just like his name. His name means fool, and folly goes with him. And as for me, your servant, I did not see the men my lord sent. And now, my lord, as surely as the Lord your God lives, and as you live, since the Lord has kept you from bloodshed and from avenging yourself with your own hands, may your enemies and all who are intent on harming my lord be like Nabal. And let this gift which your servant has brought to my lord be given to the men who follow you. So first, what Abigail does is she comes to David with respect, acknowledges who he is, right? Like he says that the Lord, surely as the Lord your God lives, he has kept you from bloodshed. Like she knows about David, and she continues to minister to that to David. And continuing on here says, please forgive your servant's presumption. The Lord your God will certainly make a lasting dynasty for my Lord, because you fight the Lord's battles, and no wrongdoing will be found in you as long as you live. Even though someone is pursuing you to take your life, the life of my Lord will be bound securely in the bundle of the living by the Lord your God. But the lives of your enemies will be hurled away as from the pocket of a sling. When the Lord has fulfilled my Lord every good thing he promised concerning him, and has appointed him ruler over Israel, my Lord will have on his conscience the staggering burden of needless bloodshed, or having avenged himself. And when the Lord your God has brought my Lord success, remember your servant. So Abigail basically reminds David of the promises that God has made to David, that he will create a lasting dynasty, that he will make him king over Israel. But she also reminds David of how the Lord has redeemed him in the past. Like she says that, but the lives of your enemies will be hurled away as from the pocket of a sling. So the pocket of a sling, that is what David used to kill Goliath. And she reminds David that he is fighting the Lord's battles and that he's kept him safe this entire time, and that when these promises come to fulfillment, that he shouldn't have any bloodshed, no bloodshed on his conscience, that he does not need to avenge himself, that the Lord is fighting for him. And the wisdom of Abigail to approach the king, or the soon-to-be king, right, and be able to talk some sense into him. I think as we're standing, right, if your situation is anything like mine, where people may be talking about you, as time goes on, perhaps others start to say things that may not be true, or if your spouse is involved with another person, maybe there's rumors that begin to be spread out about you, about the situation. And this was just such a good reminder that God has given us a promise. We are fighting the Lord's battles. It is not our job to vindicate ourselves, that the Lord will avenge us. And so David's response to Abigail is, "Praise be to the Lord, the God of Israel, who sent you today to meet me. May you be blessed for your good judgment and for keeping me from bloodshed this day and from avenging myself with my own hands." So David begins to recognize what Abigail is saying, and he thanks her for intervening. So I do believe that Abigail was sent to intervene. And so my question to our covenant warriors is, do you have people in your life that can intervene and can stop you from sinning, that can stop you from making a mistake, and remind you of the promises that God has for you? That it's not our job to vindicate ourselves, that the Lord will vindicate us when the time is right. And surely, sure enough, I don't know, my hair's falling down. Sure enough, Abigail goes back home, and then David tells Abigail that go home in peace. I have heard your words and granted your request. So she's going to listen, he's going to listen to Abigail's request. And what ends up happening next? When Nabal is drunk, and celebrating his harvest of all the sheep that he's sheared, the next day when he was sober, Abigail tells Nabal, all the things that are going to happen. And lo and behold, his heart fails him. And 10 days later, the Lord struck Nabal and he died. So then obviously David hears this, and this is David's response: "Praise be to the Lord, who has upheld my cause against Nabal for treating me with contempt. He has kept his servant from doing wrong and has brought Nabal's wrongdoing down on his own head." And so, my faithful covenant warriors, I hope that this is just a reminder that it is not our job to fight battles on our own. It is not up to us to clear our name. If anybody disrespects us or doesn't validate our identity or doesn't recognize who we are in this season, that we can surrender that to the Lord, give it to God, and the truth will eventually prevail. The God will expose the truth, and He will bring things to pass. So I hope that this encourages you, and I hope you have a blessed day.